that's when that's scheduled to happen. I'm sure if you have questions about any of that, I'm here. We also want to highlight that, you know, the end of the month is coming quickly for pressuring Congress. So there's a really good letter writing for at bailoutthepeople.com. So I hope you're all participating in that. It's so quick, it's so easy, and it is working. Voices are being heard. We really need to get on top of Congress because they need to pass an emergency UBI. And I think that's about all I have in terms of updates. If anyone has a question. Let me check the chat, I guess.
Any of our co-hosts see any hands going on? Nothing. Yeah, go ahead and drop any questions for Erica into the chat. And I'm hearing an echo. Is that cool? Okay, looks like we got it. Great. Okay, thank you so much, Erica. So next up, we have candidate support. Is anyone here to present that? Colleen?
Yes,
we swap to the partner one for Nick and then go back. It seems like
that sounds good.
Got it.
Robbie had some connection issues.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, we weren't quite to the spotlight, but that's cool. We can go. Do we have a slide for Nick?
No, it seems like there isn't one.
Okay. Well, Nick, do you want to just take the floor for a minute?
Yeah, for sure. Cool. Yeah, so I could talk about the action coming up on the 25th, if that's what you'd like. Would be helpful. Okay.
Yeah, I think it'd be great. And just any other background and stuff you talked a little bit about maybe afterwards, sort of your formation as an organization and any best tips and stuff. I know that was something that really, helped people or interested people last time. So yeah, the 25th and just any thoughts and feedback on that, I think would be awesome.
Okay, for sure. So for the action, like Erica mentioned, we're working together as several different groups. Move to Amend is also with us. And we're working to, of course, pressure Congress to make the last, make the last bailout, basically, a people's stimulus. And I think you've probably all seen our demands of Medicare for all and basic income and canceling rent and mortgage payments and the rest of them, defund the police. So we had a great action on the 11th. We went to more than 30 members of Congress's homes and did car parades to them, got a number of direct meetings with them, which just goes to show how effective the strategy is, because they would, you'd almost never get a meeting without doing that kind of thing. And so have been holding those as well. But of course, so far, the process of negotiating the new stimulus bill has been very secretive between the Democrats and Republicans. I don't even think it has a name yet, and so they're very obviously trying to keep discussion about it down. But there's about 2 weeks, maybe even a little less, before the final stimulus is passed, and this is really kind of like a key moment, of course. And so folks were so excited at having gone to their homes on the 11th, and then there were some actions today or yesterday. For example, with Shahid Buttar in San Francisco, did kind of a tour, a caravan tour of Pelosi's properties to pressure her to include our demands in the final stimulus bill. And so then the 25th is our final action, where we're going to go back to the homes, and we're also going to have high visibility car caravans in cities. And so we'll be looking to get as many people involved, of course. If we have an action map on our website, which is peoplesparty.org. And if you go to the top of the website, you'll see July 25th, and that's where you can submit an action. You can submit to host an action. And if you'd like to do that, I would suggest doing it as soon as possible so that it's included in the round of promotion and press and kind of any interviews that we do. So people who watch those then will go to the map and they'll see your event there. So yeah, definitely look forward to taking action again on the 25th and putting maximum pressure. As I shared with some of the others on the call before, we think as the Movement for a People's Party, we think that recurring stimulus checks is the most likely out of all the demands to be, that could be a breaking point, that we could actually get adopted, because the Democrats have so dug in their heels on things like Medicare for All. But it's 82% favorability for recurring stimulus checks. And so we may be able to put, to pressure that through either on, on the Trump side or encourage some holdouts on the Democratic side who demand, like the Squad, for example, that demand it be included. So yeah, so thanks everybody for participating. Look forward to another great week of action next Saturday. And then to what Massey was talking about, we use self-organizing systems at MPP, which is a decentralized organizing methodology. It stems from sociocracy, and I'm happy to share more, including our structure document, but I believe some of you guys have seen it. Yenny mentioned it last week. But yeah, happy to tell you more basically about how we're structured as MPP, if that would help.
Yeah, what would you say your sort of maybe your biggest challenge and your biggest realization as building an org from the grassroots ground up that you found?
Our well, something that's kind of like really important to us as MPP is we're dedicated to building a major new party in the United States, because we don't think the Democrats, Republicans are representing people. And so central to that is the idea that like we structured MPP in a way that was very deliberately contrasting with the Democratic and Republican parties in the way that they're structured. So they're very centralized. The national committees, kind of like have all the power. The memberships don't really have the power. The platform isn't binding and the candidates don't stick to them. It's dominated by big money, of course, from Wall Street and big donors and bundlers. And so we look to structure ourselves in a decentralized way that basically kind of enables as much, that also enables more to happen, and it kind of empowers grassroots to do more on their own. So the movement can kind of flourish at a faster rate as well. So those were some of the things that we were prioritizing. And then of course we take no corporate money. That's and we don't believe in things like the revolving door. We want to, shut that. And so I would say some like a biggest organizational challenge, I would say, is being able to scale to kind of match the movement of people who are coming in. That's still a challenge, like being able to connect with every volunteer who plugs in and get them connected to a working group or a local hub. We're still kind of figuring out those workflow processes. But it's a good problem to have because we have a lot of folks who are really interested in what we're doing, thankfully.
Well, thank you, Nick. People in the chat are obviously talking about it. Super interesting, and
I believe Catherine had a question.
Hey, I was wondering, both for like our revolution and MPP, what's the legal structure between your national level and your state levels? Is it
good question?
Like how do you kind of give the kind of state levels the freedom to do what they need, but also organize for collective action? Like what legal structures did you consider and then choose?
Yeah, we're still building those out. So we've drafted a memorandum of understanding for our hubs, which are our local chapters. And, they'll have kind of broad autonomy to pursue local priorities within the principles and platform and beliefs of the Movement for a People's Party. And so that's kind of the balance that we're striking, And then, of course, in what we're going to be doing is we're going to be forming state party committees, registering with the secretaries of state. And so that has kind of like a pre-established structure that is, you know, it requires like, you know, a chair and a treasurer and a secretary for the state committees.
And then with Our Revolution, how were you constituted there?
Oh, well, we've had some Our Revolution chapters join us. And they've essentially what they've done is they've affiliated with us when they've joined us because they decided that, you know, that we need a new party as well, and kind of lost confidence in reforming the Democrats.
And is there any like legally binding contracts or stuff, or just sort of like political agreements that, like, you know, we sort of saying this, giving our word, and that, you know, breaking this contract would be, you know, a huge show of distrust and loss of faith in the movement?
Right now, it will be the memorandum of understanding shortly, but right now we haven't implemented that across all of the hubs that are forming.
All right, and last question, or at least there might be
I think
more, but
Erica actually had a hand raised.
oh, sorry, I missed that.
Squeeze her in real quick. Erica?
Hey, Nick. Sorry about that. I just was curious what's your main method of staying in contact with all of your volunteers, like what technology you use, and how you manage who is considered part of your group. I'm just curious.
We use Slack, like you all do, and we have 2 Slacks. We have one for the national organization and working groups. We have 8 working groups: media messaging, action, arts, political outreach, organizing, tech, regenerative culture. And then that's the first Slack. And then the second Slack is a state Slack where we have the organizing and we have all the hubs. And so that's where every state has a channel and every city has a channel. And so folks who are organizing there use that. And then those folks, you know, who are forming hubs or who have hubs, they're forming, of course, their own local Slacks as well. So mostly Slack, but we do complement it with Basecamp because Slack itself is like really great for rapid fire communication, but it sucks, as you guys probably know, for like anything long term or, you know, like project management.
Right.
And so we use Basecamp because it's great because one Basecamp account, they don't charge you per user. So you pay $1,000 and you have it for a year, unlimited users, unlimited projects, unlimited teams. And it lets it has a calendar function, which is really useful. It also has a to-do function. And so you can create to-dos for different team members. You can even set kind of like due dates, assignments, who's working on a project. It really helps structure things more than Slack. And then organizationally, we've also divided the country into 9 different regions. And we have regional coordinators for each of the regions that help folks form the hubs locally and form kind of the state committees. And so that's how we're organizing.
I love it. I would love to get in touch with you sometime this week and talk more about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd be glad to. I'd be glad to send you more resources. Yeah.
Cool. Erica,
and
Catherine had a question.
we're actually over the 10 minutes right now, so I'm gonna put the rest of this into chat. And Nick, however long you want to hang out, and I know last time you stayed to the end and we're answering lots of questions, so super appreciate that. Do you want to get back? Cool. Yeah, thanks. And then let's go through candidate support by Colleen, and then that'll lead us into Robbie Goldstein's.
Could you refresh the slide deck? Just exit it and open it back up again.
Sure. Cool. So Colleen.
All right. So here with candidate support, as these maps that are accessible on the slide deck that will be in the directory of documents will show you, we still have a few upcoming primaries, August primaries we have going on where we have endorsed candidates in Florida and Massachusetts. So you'll be meeting Robbie tonight from Massachusetts. And also I'll be introducing you to Catherine Fisher, who's the volunteer coordinator for Jen Perlman's campaign. So on to the next slide, please. Yeah, we had a great victory with Donna Imam. She won her election on the 14th. So she's going up against the Republican challenger in November. There'll be a lot of more fundraising going on for her coming on next. Next slide, please. Okay. All right, so here are the 4 coming up right now. Countdown for these primaries. As you can see, we have Marilyn Strickland. She is coming up August 4th. On the 18th, Jen Perlman, and then Alex Morris and Robbie Goldstein, Massachusetts, are September 1st. Next slide, please. All right, I'd like to introduce you to Kat. I've been working with Kat over the last 3 days, phone banking for Jen Perlman. So take it away, Kat. Tell us more about how we can get on board with phone banking for Jen.
All right, thank you, Colleen. Can everybody hear me? Okay. All right,
Yep.
Good, thank you. Yeah, so I'll keep it really brief. I'm volunteer coordinator with Jen Perlman. Bryson is also here. He's my other half. He does volunteer coordination mostly on the text banking side. So yeah, we're super happy to be here. Jen Perlman is endorsed by Andrew Yang. And yeah, we're running a 100% grassroots campaign against Debbie Wasserman Schultz in Florida. So this is going to be in Florida's 22nd district. Our primary is on August 18th. It's been going very well. Our first TV ad is coming up this week. We've been raising a lot of money. We have a really great ground game on canvassing, and it's been going super great with getting the word out on the ground. Yeah, and like Nick and Erica said before, we absolutely have to keep Congress accountable for passing a substantive UBI proposal for the coronavirus. So that is something that we're absolutely trying to do on the ground here as well. So yeah, thank you so much. If you're interested in volunteering with us, I'm going to drop my email down here in case you want to get more information or just hear more about us. So thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Colleen, are you there?
I was.
It's like we got one more slide. Is that right, Colleen?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Kat. Yeah, and I can't say enough. This has been one of the best phone banking campaigns I've done because Floridians are answering the phones. I've had probably 90% answer rate, which is like I'm dreaming. I never have anything like that. So, okay, here's the last rundown for all of the other candidates conveniently in a chart, and you can read more about them at the Humanity Forward endorsements page, where Andrew himself writes a little write-up about why he's supporting them. All right, and yeah, we're in the Slack, so if you have any questions, any details about any of these candidates, you can reach out to our working group. All right, thank you.
Cool. Thank you so much, Colleen. And now on to Robbie.
Great. Thank you, everyone, for having me here tonight. I'm not sure if Gray shared what happened at the beginning of this hour, but my fire alarm went off in the entire building that I'm in. So, and there's a potential that it might go off again because I'm not sure. I still see the fire trucks outside the window. So if you hear a really loud noise, I apologize. I will mute it and I will go outside and try to jump on my phone somewhere where it is not as loud. But we will start and get through as much as we can. I'll say first, thanks for having me. I am really excited to be here and to talk with all of you and to share more about my campaign and who I am. I think there's a lot of folks that are on the call who already know about me and know my story. I'll give you the brief kind of 30-second rundown of who I am. I am an infectious disease doctor. I'm running for Congress in Massachusetts against a 9-term incumbent who is somebody who is pro-life, voted against the Affordable Care Act, has really stood on the wrong side of almost every single issue in his 9 terms in office, and yet still caucuses with the Democrats and calls himself a Democrat. We launched this campaign back in November. talking about healthcare, but really trying to broaden the conversation and trying to say that healthcare is a human right, certainly, but healthcare is about more than an insurance card in everyone's pocket. Healthcare is about people having financial security. Healthcare is about people having food security. Healthcare is about people having housing security. And as we've gone through this campaign, that has become incredibly clear to all of us as we're living through COVID and living through this crisis. As I was picking up steam in this primary, I had an amazing opportunity to talk to the Yang Gang here in Massachusetts, to move on and talk with folks at Humanity Forward, and eventually have a conversation with Andrew that really changed a lot of this campaign in many ways. It changed our messaging, it changed our mission, it changed our place on the national map. And it has been amazing to ride the wave with all of you. So thank you for people who have already joined us, people who have done some phone banking and text banking, and who have helped us get out word about this campaign. What we wanted to share tonight, and I'm joined by Gray, who is one of our amazing field organizers on the team, was share a few ways that you can get involved with the campaign and where you can learn more about it. I'm certainly happy to answer any questions that people have tonight in the chat at any point, but there's a ton of information online at our website, robbieforchange.com. There is a link to make a donation. We are obviously running a grassroots campaign against a long-term incumbent who has $1.5 million in his war chest, and trying to build as much as we can in our own financial resources. There's a link here for an ad that talks about the campaign that I will say we created 2 weeks before the COVID crisis, which is why you don't see anyone wearing a mask. But it was the last time we were really able to be out and about with folks. There's an interview here that I did with Nerds for Humanity, a Reddit AMA that I did, where you can learn some more information about me and some of the questions that people ask. And I think most importantly, probably to Gray, who's on the call, there are links to sign up for our phone banking shifts and to join our volunteer force. We are really trying to make sure we're canvassing folks in a safe way, given COVID. I'm an infectious disease doc. I'm not going to put anyone at risk, make anyone knock on any doors. And so the best way that we can get the message out to individual voters is to make phone calls. We have some pretty high goals of making 200,000 phone calls before the September 1st primary. We are on track. We are going to make it there, but it's going to take a lot of us all working together to do that. So if anyone would like to join us or knows others that would want to join us, this is the best way to sign up for our phone banking shifts. I think there's one other slide, if you don't mind going to the next one, which is just a slide with all of the coalition of endorsers that we have pulled together in this campaign, sort of led by Andrew Yang and Humanity Forward. With many people, we're having a broad conversation about a progressive agenda, what it means to live a healthy life in this country at this time. And I have been really sort of inspired by each of these endorsers and humbled by all of these endorsers to see that there's so much broad support for this campaign and for someone who is taking on an established incumbent. So there's a lot of folks on here, a lot of things that I could talk about, but I'll maybe, depending on how much time we have, open it up and say I welcome any questions that people have.
While people are raising their hands, we had a question on Twitter earlier today in response to this getting posted. That was just an open-ended question about your feelings about the future of remote work possibilities and public transit in a post-COVID America.
I think that we have let this genie out of the bottle and we can't get it back in. And so I think that there is going to be a segment of our economy that will exist in a work from home environment. Now that it may be a hybrid model, it may not be that everyone will work from home all the time, but we were sort of on this track. If you think about what was happening in corporate America for the past 20 years, we were on this track of open floor plans and everyone sort of working in a sort of open space, everyone working together, and that's not going to work with COVID. And I'm not sure how soon people are going to feel comfortable doing that again. So I think we're in a space where people are going to be working from home, which means that we're going to need to invest in the right space over the next year, right? We have to invest in technology. We have to invest in high-speed internet all across this country, certainly in areas of the country that don't have access. We have to sort of build up our security, our cybersecurity, and make sure that when people are working from home, they're able to access what they need to access in a very safe and secure manner. we're going to have to think of new technologies that allow us to do the jobs that we used to do maybe in person, but now that we're going to do in a work from home environment. And that's going to tie in some ways to the second part of that question, which is transportation, right? The commuting that we've been doing for so long, getting in our cars and driving from one place to the next, getting on public transportation, that's all going to change if we're working from home. And it gives us an opportunity to think critically about where we invest in transportation. Can we invest in more local options like bike routes and sidewalks? Can we invest in the transportation that's going to, if we're working from home, that's going to benefit us in our local communities, and not think about these enormous projects that might actually add to the number of cars on the road. And so, I think we have a huge opportunity before us. I have said a lot about the COVID crisis. Shame on us if we go back to what we had before, because what we had before was broken. So it is our opportunity right now. It is our time to think better, to think bigger, to think bolder about what it should look like and how we can get there.
Oh, so I see a couple hands.
like-
Yeah, I'm not sure who it is.
So we've got Colleen, then Brendan, then Catherine.
Yeah, hi, Bobby. So when you say that housing is part of a total, holistic healthcare system, from the federal level, what would be the housing policies that you would push for? Because a lot of housing is really, it's a local policy,
Yes.
but it's something that people keep looking to, the federal government to take care of, because it's something really so overwhelming, and it's a hard fight at the local level. So how would you lead at the national level with federal policy?
Yeah, you're right. There's so much of housing is actually under municipal and state control, and they have a lot of say in how affordable housing is developed, in which communities and in what way. But there are certain levers that the federal government has through HUD, through Housing and Urban Development. And one of those is something that actually happened in the House a couple of weeks ago, but we need to push it forward. It's unlikely to pass this Senate. We're going to have to deal with it in the next Congress, which is the repeal of the Faircloth Amendment. Really limits the federal government from investing in affordable housing. It basically has a one in, one out policy, meaning we have a set number of affordable houses at the federal level, and we can't build any more unless we destroy ones that already exist. So that actually really limits the federal government from investing in affordable housing and partnering with states and municipal governments to build more units and to make sure they're being built in the right places. But I also think there's a piece of this in terms of housing that is about adaptation and efficiency in our current housing that exists. We could very easily at the federal level mandate that federally funded and federally what's in the federal jurisdiction in terms of affordable housing has increased efficiency when it comes to heat and air conditioning, is adapted to manage the changing climate and what's going to happen in our environment, in our environmental policy. And that all should be included in part of our housing policy. It is about an investment in safe, affordable, and healthy housing for everyone.
Thanks, Robbie. If I could, I'll just launch into my question. But with climate change, we've seen that the Democrats are coming on board for a Green New Deal, which is so exciting for those of us that prioritize environmental policy. But no one's perfect, if you get in Congress, your voice can add a lot to the conversation. What direction do you think that conversation needs to go so that we have evidence-based and reasonable climate change policy?
So the one thing I love about the Green New Deal, and that I think we need to make sure is part of all policy, is the urgency that the Green New Deal puts on this policy. And it really says, we've got to do it now. We don't have time to wait. We don't have any time to waste in this experience. We need to actually make changes, and in 10 years, see the benefits of those changes. And I think that's a really important part. The piece that I think we also have to remember and think about is that no matter what we do, even if we pass the Green New Deal and we have an unbelievable turnaround in our overall climate policy, we are still going to see a 1 to 2 meter sea level rise in this country in 40 to 50 years. We're still going to see increasing temperatures across the globe in 40 to 50 years. And so there needs to be, and there is some of this in the Green New Deal, but I'm not sure there's enough. There needs to be more in that adaptation and that management space, in the idea of how do we deal with roads that are going to collapse because the temperatures are going to increase? How do we deal with homes that are along shores that are going to get washed over? And how do we invest in the adaptation piece that's going to keep us all safe with these inevitable, unavoidable changes because of what's happened over the past 50 years in our climate policy? And then I think one of the things about the Green New Deal is that it's part of a broader resolution, and we don't talk about it as much, but the Green New Deal itself is an act, and it's a piece of legislation that talks about climate. It's part of this broad resolution that Senator Markey and Representative Ocasio-Cortez pulled together, talking about the fact that healthcare and environmental policy are linked, jobs and environmental policy are linked, financial security and environmental policy are linked. And so we need to actually broaden the discussion and make sure that people know when they're voting for the Green New Deal, they should be voting for this bigger resolution that is about moving forward with the entire agenda, to make sure that not only do we have a planet that's inhabitable and safe, but that we're living a healthy life, and that we bring equity and we bring all of the other justice pieces into that discussion.
Thank you.
Cool.
So
the weather's getting weird. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Catherine. We're a little bit over times too, so this will be the last question, and then Robbie, feel free to hang around and talk and chat or do whatever you choose.
Could we let Andrew ask his as well? I think we're doing fairly decent on time right now.
Okay, so quick question. I had seen that your parents had a small business when you were growing up, and kind of what you took from that, kind of working in your parents' family business when you were young. And then just if for potential phone bankers, you might talk about, what are the salient issues for people in all of these south of Boston communities that have them, because I think a lot of people who are outside of Massachusetts don't realize that even though it's broadly Democratic, there's so much variation in what it means to be a Democrat in Massachusetts, that there's a lot of very conservative Democrats that we're going to be calling.
Yes, yeah. Thank you for bringing up the piece about my parents. They'll be happy that it was brought up on the call, but also it is a really big part of who I am and how I was raised. I would go to they had a dental practice. My mom managed it and did all the books. My dad did the dentistry, and my sister and I basically did all the rest of the work in the office, because we would be there after schools every weekend all summer long. And it really informed my position on communities and what it means to exist in a community and care for a community. And it's why I'm a doctor, and it's why I'm trying to work so hard to talk about communities in this campaign. But to address that second part about the district, people can see on this map that's on the screen right now, it's a big district with 24 cities and towns. They're very diverse in their political beliefs and ideology. I do think that they all share certain democratic values: fighting for healthcare, fighting for financial security, fighting for reproductive justice. But some of these are conservative areas and more conservative or moderate Democrats. And I think I find the easiest thing to try to connect in with them about is to talk about some of those sort of bedrock principles of this campaign, making sure people can live a healthy life, understanding that health is broader than just the insurance card, that it's about financial security, it's about housing stability, it's about food security. And when I begin to do that and broaden out that conversation, people tend to sort of stop asking me the questions about single payer healthcare or things that may feel too far to the left to them for some reason, and instead talk about our shared goals and our shared values.
Thank you. And then Andrew, go ahead.
All right, thank you. So in the state of Massachusetts, there's almost 1 million plus students enrolled in the public education system. And just in Boston alone, there's 150,000 undergraduate students in the metropolitan area. So what policies are you going to push for, if elected to Congress, that will benefit students and assist the education system?
Yeah, you're like smack on with that question, because we're sort of this hub for education. There are so many students. Many of them live in this district, just given where the universities and the colleges are. I think fundamentally, the number one thing that we have to do is fix the broken student loan situation in this country. And that is going to require many different plans and policies to push forward. There's going to be a lot that we need to do. I think the first is we have to address those people who recently graduated and are sitting with thousands of dollars of student loan debt, and make sure that those people have student loan debt forgiveness. Certainly that they have debt forgiveness for people who went to for-profit colleges and are now at the end of their college experience and have nothing to show for it. But we also have to fix the fundamental problem underneath that, right? Which is that college is not affordable. And it should be clear, just like healthcare is a human right, education is also a human right and should be guaranteed to everyone in this country. So we can do that by guaranteeing everyone access to a public college education at no cost to them. But we can also do that by guaranteeing people access to other types of education. Not everyone needs to or wants to go to a four-year college and get that degree. Some people want to go to a community college. Some people want to go to a vocational school. Some people want to be part of an apprenticeship program. And our federal government should be investing in all of those programs to make sure that there's access for everybody to get the education they need and they want, so that when they're done, they can go on and do whatever it is they want to do, right? Right now, we have made certain jobs, certain positions, certain activities in this country inaccessible because of how inaccessible our education system is for people after their K through 12 education.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Robbie.
Yeah. Happy to stick around and answer questions in the chat. And Grace here too, who knows quite a bit about the campaign at this point.
Excellent. Cool. So I'm going to move on to our COVID relief. So this is, you can onboard over at this link here. I believe it's being handled in the rapid response. And this week we made 260 calls. So we're getting, a little echo there. Yeah, so we're getting money into people's hands. We've been doing this for a while, and last I heard about the project is, yeah, and here it says at the top too. Most folks can verify their account, their pay info, but some are having trouble, and so that's who we're calling right now. We're trying to make sure that those people that we reached out to already are getting their payments. So can always use more help. Then we've got our first work group, Diversity, Inclusion, and Outreach. Kiara.
Hey y'all, this is Kiara. Normally I would call y'all from Nashville, but I'm in Wisconsin today. I just want to update everybody on how well the HFM Cares launch went last week. Our first event exceeded our expectations. Over 20 people signed up for the first event. Most people actually were able to show up, and that also included some new faces from outside of the Slack workspace that we've never seen before. Essentially, we presented a general overview of what this mental health oriented initiative is all about before we transitioned over to an in-depth conversation about how to maintain a humanity first way of life. That was the theme of the event. We want to thank everyone who came out and supported our first event ever, specifically for listening to each other actively, being very mindful, and for also being vulnerable with us. And I want to urge you all to keep your eyes peeled for what's next to come. There's plenty in the works. We truly cannot wait to share what we've been working on with all of you. Thank you all for your lovely comments in the chat as well. And also, we are on a bi-weekly schedule currently. We will be having our meeting this week, this Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern time. So please pop your head in if you want to see what else we've been working on. Thank y'all so much. That's it.
Awesome, and thank you, that whole team. You guys are kicking ass over there. Such a good project, especially in these times. Let's see, next up we got regional organizing. Lamont in the house.
Hey guys. Well, the color palette that whoever updated looks really good, by the way. But yeah, so there's nothing too new to report from last week. But yeah, this working group is mainly focused on identifying yang gangs out there who aren't communicating on the national level yet, and hopefully inspiring the semi-active yang gangs we do encounter to organize. So the Northwest held their second Zoom hang meeting this past Friday. And this time we had participants from Idaho and Alaska. And we found out that Boise has had a pretty active yang gang and may be looking to get involved again. So a few participants said that they will work together to lead in hosting future regional hangs up there. And Liz agreed to help report on the progress of that region and help with outreach. And yeah, we're happy to have Liz's experience with grassroots in the regional group because yeah, we offboarded Keith this week, who was one of the leads for that working group. So we're just gonna pick up where he left off in the Northwest and other regions. So the last thing is the Southeast has the fourth regional Zoom social meeting coming up Tuesday, 7:30 Eastern. So hopefully it doesn't conflict with the Humanity Forward. It's kind of back to back. Just heard about that. So yeah, there's going to be a short slideshow talking about like how we're organizing at HFM and major projects going on, as well as giving people a chance to discuss like what they're working on locally. And I think we're going to do breakout rooms because we're expecting 40 to 50 people again. So yeah, Rachel, who has experience with Humanity Hangs, is also helping out with that meeting. So that's awesome. And yeah, the registration link is on the slide, and it's an Eventbrite page, so you'll have to make an account, but just DM me on Slack if you aren't able to do that. So yeah, last thing, oh, this is last thing. We are still looking for volunteers to join the working group to help with outreach, data collection, and data organization. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you, Lamon. Comms, Colleen.
All right, hi. So here with comms, we have a newsletter coming on out. We're looking for writers for the newsletter. You can write for this newsletter, or you could write for the next one. You can write when you're available for it. Whenever you're available to write or edit, you don't have to make a long-term commitment. Also, for making graphics, we constantly, a few times a day, we have graphics that need to be made for us, and we have branding guidelines, but you also have a lot of creative freedom. This is an example of one of the graphics that we put up this past week. We'll have another one for a movie night, so why don't you be the volunteer who makes one when we choose the movie later tonight for that graphic. This week, we're going to be sending out 400 individual tweets to Yang Gang because Angelo, he put out this roll call, something to the effect of, hey, who's still here to be part of the movement, make things happen? And about 400 people answered. So we're going to reach out to them. We're going to be doing a text banking party. Yeah, it was amazing. That's right, Paige. So if you'd like to be part of this text banking party, you can write into the comms channel that you're interested, or you can post here to the chat. And if you can't post to a chat for whichever way you're connected to Zoom, if you can raise a Zoom hand, I'm going to look through to take note of you if you have to do it that way. All right, comms is meeting this Friday at 6 because there's a whole lot of other volunteer opportunities than I'm going to list on the slide. And you can get tuned in with them this Friday at 6. No, sorry, 6:30. I'm going to update that slide and it's on the calendar at 6:30. Okay, check.
At 6, we're on the Zach and Matt show.
At 6 you are. All right. Good.
Cool. Thank you, Colleen. So next up, org management. I'll take this one. So this last week, we passed the Public Channel Blueprint Initiative. We touched on this a little bit earlier in the presentation. Basically, this is calling for all existing and future channels, and any public channel has to address these 4 concerns here: the purpose, direction, feedback, and caretaking. If it doesn't make sense for the channel, something like the All Start Here channel doesn't necessarily need all of these answered appropriately, then you can just fill out why it doesn't need this slot addressed. Anyone can make these slides, or anyone can make these submissions for as many channels as you like, and you can do it in any form. If anyone can make a visual storytelling one, I would be super impressed. And so we have a Google submission form here that has it laid out that you can do fairly easily, and that'll go directly into a spreadsheet that we have publicized over in OM, and we'll make that more available too as this project unfolds. And none of this is supposed to be like hard to do. If you're feeling like maybe this is like too much, we're just trying to get some feedback and accountability on what's actually happening and have it all in one place so that people can see it. I've studied a lot of cryptocurrency, and there's one principle in the decentralized philosophy that has particularly fed this idea. And it's basically that in a decentralized community, you want the individuals to be decentralized, you want the authority to be decentralized, but you want the interface to be centralized. So there's one place that everyone can go to see the relevant information. And that's sort of this project. Anyone can submit any of these directives. So if you have a favorite channel that you want saved, please go ahead and fill out one of these forms or come up with a more creative form and submit it to OM. We also have a feedback form out right now for the project in general, which we'd love to hear your thoughts on. And as we get more submissions, we're going to be coming out with a feedback for specific submissions. So we'll have that all publicized, and anyone who wants to weigh in on the different submissions that are there can weigh in. Any channels that don't have a blueprint by July 30th, which is the day after the next org management meeting on 7/29, we will be archiving. So it won't lose any of the information in the channel. We will be able to reactivate it if someone wants to submit a form for it at some point. And so, yeah, hopefully this just cleans things up a lot and gives us a good compendium of what we're trying to do in this organization and who's trying to do it. And again, anyone who wants to, go ahead. So that's org management. Next we have tech. Is there anyone here for this?
Yeah, so I'm going to go through this really quick. If your state does not have a website, we've got the ability to make a website for you, so get in touch. It'll do your state's name at .hfmovement.org, like Iowa has here, IA. And we've got a newsletter that Colleen was talking about earlier. Thomas is helping us administrate that. We're going to be having any state who wants to get in the system, if you don't have a mailing system already, we can set you up with the ability to send out your own newsletters. For all states that are currently active, we're asking for information that you'd like to be put in a welcome letter that is custom to your state. We can send you the welcome letter that we're currently using that is for all of the states that don't have a custom one. So that you can see what you want to keep and not keep on there and anything you want to add. We can also set you up with an email address. And this is especially important if you're using a different software program for emails, because it helps make sure that they have proper deliverability. The reason we chose MailerLite is, one, because we can do that administration of people only being able to see their state. Alias, sorry, Catherine, email alias. And it also has the highest deliverability rate of all of the email newsletter platforms. The CRM selection process is continuing. Kim is looking for volunteers to help us evaluate programs. We've got at least 40 that are still on the list that need to be compared to our criteria. So if you want to help fill out criteria information for a platform, let me know. And as we said earlier, our website is up. Thank you to Aria and Travis for getting that to happen.
Cool. Thank you, Yenny. And now we have Testify for UBI, which I believe Angelo and Hannah will be partnering on.
Yes, thank you very much. So for Testify for UBI, for those that don't know what it is, myself and Hannah Wan a few months ago set up a project where we have regular Americans from across the spectrum, Democrats, Republicans, Independents, Libertarians, all speak on behalf of why UBI matters to them as ordinary, everyday Americans. We are doing so to both depoliticize UBI and with a strong emphasis on relatability for the speakers so that the people watching our testimony at home can actually see themselves in the speakers and understand the value of UBI and why it matters to them as much as it matters to us. Hannah, would you like to take over from here?
Yeah, hi, sorry, I'm actually on the road right now, so sorry about the noise. Yeah, so we've had a few developments while working on this project. Am I supposed to announce all the partnerships now? Angela and I haven't really discussed this yet.
Yeah, so we just recently had a meeting with Humanity Forward. If Erica would like to talk about that briefly for a second.
Oh, yeah, sure. So Humanity Forward's new strategy that's coming out in August is mostly revolving around coalition building. And when we read the proposal for Testify UBI, we found it to be in complete, just completely in agreement and alignment with plans for coalition building, as well as building up to a bigger picture of Andrew going to Congress. We haven't finalized anything around that, so it's really in a formation stage. But what Hannah and Angela put together really inspired some action around that. So we're excited about it at Humanity Forward.
And we're looking forward to having further talks and really, building up that hopeful partnership in the future. We've also spoken with Stacy of Income Movement, and she's very excited about this project and is looking forward to working with us. We have some potential partnerships in the works, which we can't announce quite yet, as we're still waiting for our first meeting with those. Just wanted to get that off Hannah's plate there. Hannah, if you'd like to express more about what's going on with Testify for UBI. Again, she's the co-founder of this with me.
Yeah, I feel like you just covered it. So yeah, we're just continuing to work with our partners. And right now we are looking for people with legislative experience, specifically like lobbying for public interest groups. And yeah, so I'm working with Results, which is an anti-poverty organization, and they have experience doing this, and they might be able to offer some guidance in that way, because that is the big piece that we are lacking, just the actual experience with talking to legislators and appealing to them and having them get on board with our project. So that's the next part. So we have a lot of things in motion. So yeah, stay tuned.
Yeah, so we are still accepting speaker applications, which you can apply on our website. And our working date is September to try and coincide with the Basic Income March. And that's all I have to cover for this slide. Thank you very much, everyone.
Cool, thank you guys. Super looking forward to that. Next, we got Grow 10X. Is that Brendan?
Hey, everyone. So, this working group is moving a little slow, so I'll keep this really brief so we can get on with the rest of the night. But we do still have that best growth practices survey out. We're doing some research on deep canvassing. Oh, I got so many great white papers, so much great math I could share with you if you're interested in looking into that. We're still working on the guide to growth. I could use some help with other content writers, especially people with experience in growing their Yang gangs during the Yang 2020 campaign. That would be great. So we meet every other week. Next meeting is July 30th at 2 p.m. Pacific time, 5 p.m. Eastern time. And really, we've been just kind of, keeping things going until we get a critical mass of people working on some projects. And there's a lot of things that we could work on that could have exponential benefits in the long run. So love to see you at one of the meetings one of these days. So thanks.
Thank you, Brandon. So that does it for our work groups. Last year we have the Google Calendar links. You can add these as layers to your own. I believe there is a tutorial down there at the bottom. And that has everything. So the two of them, the working groups and other meetings, as well as the community calendar with all the fun stuff. And yeah, that's great to keep everything orderly. So go ahead and grab those.
And
Movie night.
candidate support is getting its own calendar shortly. That information will be out soon. It'll be a place where like phone banking and other volunteer opportunities, fundraising, town halls that candidates have. We'll have a whole list of that. And we're going to be giving candidates that are aligned with us access to it to help out.
Yeah, sorry, I forgot about that.
I wanted to have a jump in at some, just to quickly follow up with some more information on the 25th, whenever that's a good point to slide in.
Yeah, probably.
Sure, go for it. And then we'll get to movie night and the fun stuff.
All right, so we had a talk with IM, MPP, HFM, HF reps on Friday, and had a really sort of, heart and strategizing discussion on, given the time, as Nick said, it's about 11 days until they're going to make a decision and pass a bill. So we have a really tight window on what we're trying to get done and push for. And so, yeah, we've agreed that monthly stimulus checks is, super high as well.
You should be relaxed because you're buzzed.
And what we're pushing for is a sort of a two-pronged and potentially third-pronged strategy, but mainly focusing from with our base and our team of volunteers is to attack Republican senators and focus on, going to protesting their houses and progressive Congress members in the House. With the idea is that pushing the conservative senators, because the bill's going to be starting there, trying to push it to get monthly stimulus payments as part of the bill. In the point of going to progressive House members is to have them form a coalition, as well as that they're going to stall and not and try to block any legislation that comes from the Senate that does not include any monthly stimulus payments. So, with that being said, when you're looking to do your action on the 25th, figure out who's in your city and try to either focus a progressive congressperson and let them know we need them to stand in solidarity, and that they're not going to be passing a really weak, a really lame bill that doesn't give the basic protection. Ideally we want rent relief and rent protection, and we're trying to get more on that, but the bare minimum, as Nick said, is monthly stimulus checks, or like they will be primaried for not being progressive enough. So Jaya Paul was the only example of who did that on the CARES Act, but we need more people to stand up and say, like, these half measures aren't going to keep people out of their homes for much longer. So that's just the main thing. Again, Action Network, the MPP website, you can go sign up there, create your Facebook events. We got one thing, if you're sort of concerned on how to rally your local support, our engagement has like quadrupled since we started sending DMs. So we're just, so many more people are interested in helping out and supporting and getting part of other local, national things now that we've started to reach out. So it's a huge way to activate the base, is get them active around these events. There's a sense of urgency, a sense of timing, and something that they know actively is sort of like an impending huge issue if we don't get it passed. It's also at record high support right now. So this is sort of like a once in a, political cycle opportunity to pass this. Thanks.
Cool.
Just quick before we hop to movie night again, sorry, like we didn't put slides in for these two things, but the basic income march that has been mentioned a couple of times throughout the meeting is September 19th. We're looking for to have a event in every state. And we're really hoping to be able to use this to help people activate the Yang Gang. The first action on the 11th was fantastic. More people went out on the 18th, and even more are going to go out on the 25th. We're hoping to get that to continue its momentum all the way through the Basic Income March. So please check out the Basic Income March as well, basicincome.march.com, and start getting your Yang Gangs to start getting involved in planning it, and your chapters and all of that, because we want this to be as big as possible. That way, Testify for UBI has the biggest impact possible, and this is all leading up to the election. So.
And sorry, one more thing on my end.
Guys, we need to get to the most important part of the night. Come on.
No.
All right.
So if y'all remember, there were 6 demands from the first one. We have narrowed it down, but I'm in Houston, and the BLM. This is where Floyd was from. And, obviously we have to, work and draw energy and figure out what the base of the politics are. So that's why we sort of tamped down a lot of the rhetoric. But what we've sort of been encouraging is that when, speaking, and we're obviously advocating for police reform and, data-driven things to reduce police violence, to reduce systematic racism. And so for locally in Houston, I, did a quick Google search of like police reform in Houston, linked to the ACLU, and they had a whole report they had done with like 8 local Black organizations that had researched all a bunch of things in the police report. And on July 4th, they sent a 20-page report to the mayor's office saying, these are the 5 things that you could implement right now that has come from previous task forces that haven't been implemented that would reduce, violence and systematic policing by like a certain amount of percent. I forget the number, but it's all laid out, the work's done. And so we're going to be advocating for that as well, support as that. And so that's building those coalitions on the local level that are super important, because it shows that if you go and do the research and actually hear and listen to what the people on the ground are advocating and researching and determining, you actually are showing it's a partnership and not an opportunity for, to build to build your own movement. So something to think about when trying to build partners on the ground. Thanks.
Cool. And now for the highest priority of the evening, we have a poll coming up for these 4 movies, but first I want to go to Kimberly to see if we can get some briefer of what we've got here.
Hello,
Kimberly.
all. Hello. Welcome.
Hello.
Welcome to movie night. If you haven't come to movie night yet, you have got to, because it's so much fun. We enjoy a movie together, and it's so much fun to go to theater night together. And we launched it because Hamilton was coming out, and that was like my shtick. But now we're keeping it going with amazing movie nights, and I encourage you all to come. And Yenny's going to put a poll out right now for all of you to take part in, which includes a couple of musicals and a couple of social justice themed things. Hairspray and Rent musicals, amazing musicals that I love. Good Trouble, which is about John Lewis, dubbed by him. Amazing thing. I have not watched it yet. I'm super excited to watch this no matter what the poll comes out to. And then Selma as well, which I have not watched either, and I'm super excited to do. So please let us know what you think we should watch and come and join us.
It's also an approval vote, folks. So vote for as many as you would like to see.
Yes. Thank you, Yenny, for expressing that. Approval vote means that you can vote for as many as you would like to, so that you can submit your preferences as desired. Thank you so much, everyone, for voting, and we will announce the winners in this break room Slack channel, and you will now be able to come. Well, wait, Yenny.
Yeah, we can do the results, but we've only got 15 out of 24 who voted. Perhaps we go to the next. We go to the next slide, and then we can announce the voting after that. But come on,
good idea. Vote.
We have more.
Everyone
Okay.
vote.
All right.
Put your votes in there, and I will also present the next slide, which is about Humanity Hangs, which is amazing. I'm just reiterating what Erica spoke about before. Dear World is going to be our guest for Humanity Hangs on Tuesday the 21st. We encourage you all to come. 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific for all of your time zones there. Please join us. It will be an amazing event. We are inviting MPP and Income Movement and Humanity First Movement and Humanity Forward and all of these places to come with us to tell your stories and do it in a way that will communicate the most important things. So thank you very much, everyone. We encourage you to sign up and join us for this awesome event with Dear World.
Kimberly, I'm dubbing you the official gesticulator next time. That was fabulous. Jazz hands.
All right, folks, we've got 20 out of 27 who have voted. I'm going to give everyone else a last like 30 seconds to get your votes in.
And we're going to questions,
22.
comments, hang. If anyone wants to raise their hand.
Yeah, like more questions for the peeps who are on here.
All right, so we got 22 out of 27 who voted, and there's a far and above wave winner. We are going to be watching Good Trouble this week.
Right on! I'm so excited.
Go on.
All right.
Yay! So this was put in the ring by our lovely Suzanne Hug. So we hope that she can join us for this lovely event, and so glad that y'all voted this way, and we will have that featuring for our Friday night hang at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern for y'all to join. I will pop that into the community calendar right quick within the next 12 to 24 hours.
Awesome. Looking forward to it. Good. And I believe we have Rachel Davies' hand up.
Hi, guys. This is Rachel Davies calling from Atlanta, Georgia. So here in Atlanta, obviously, we lost the great John Lewis this week. It's perfect timing for me to talk right after nominating Good Trouble. And you may know that we actually supported his primary challenger in the primary, who's named Barrington Martin, because Barrington is a pro-UBI candidate. He was the only challenger, and the Democratic Party here in Atlanta is going to be voting tomorrow at noon to decide who will take John Lewis's place in the general election on the ballot. So we are going to be doing an email campaign just in tonight and through the morning, targeting some of the people on the executive committee, asking that they consider Barrington Martin as the nominee. And specifically, we're going to be targeting the other House of Representative members who are on the executive committee. One of them is Lucy McBath. But there's several other representatives in the Atlanta area. I'll type the names of those people into the chat. If any of you guys have the time tonight or tomorrow morning to email them and ask that they select Barrington as the nominee, we would greatly appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you, Rachel. It's great work. Joshua.
Oh, hey, thanks, Nick. Yeah, I was going to piggyback on what Rachel said. I wanted to mention that. So for guys that aren't familiar, this happens sometimes. It's happening in Texas District 4, where a congressman resigns, or in this case, unfortunately passes away. And then in this particular instance, tomorrow at I believe it's noon Eastern, is when it's basically November 3rd for Georgia's 5th district. That district voted about 160,000 votes to 8,000 votes. So it leans heavy Democratic. Whoever they pick is going to Congress tomorrow. And Barrington got 20,000 votes in the primary. And just from a democracy standpoint, I find it just a little bit troubling that a group of maybe 6 or 7 people are going to pick somebody because of whatever reason. as opposed to those 20,000 people that had their voice heard. I had previously tweeted probably, I think the day before or after the primary, Barrington's name wasn't on the ballot, absentee ballot. There was a little bit of confusion about that, but wound up getting a reporter to contact Barrington about that. And I had an email exchange with that reporter that was very informative. And so that only got maybe like 50 retweets, but it got that reporter's attention. If you're a reporter from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, you maybe don't get like someone tweeting at you and like 50 notifications about it, right? So some of these people who Rachel is going to email, like, please let me know, Rachel, so I can do that as well. We have some tweets that have those people's Twitter handle to get their attention as well. And I would just ask that everyone send out a tweet because none of the other candidates that are going to be up for this are going to be pro-UBI, which Barrington is. And also, I believe he applied for the Humanity Forward endorsement. And the other thing I wanted to say about Barrington on a personal note, I had made an effort to put together a town hall on social justice and had kind of stepped in a little bit where I didn't realize that it was offensive to people if you showed like a photo of, I showed a photo of Eric Gardner being choked or whatever in the promotional tweet for that episode. I don't know if that some people find that offensive and whatnot. And anyways, I was catching a little bit of heat from some people on Twitter about that. And I had kind of like an exchange with Barrington where I was kind of like disappointed, and he was just so encouraging and understanding where he could have been like unpleasant. And I was just like really impressed with him. And it's not the only time that he has taken time out of his schedule to like reach out to me about me and care about me. And I'm not even like a voter or a volunteer or anything in his campaign. So it just lets me know that this is someone that we want representing us in Congress. And I also look at it as an opportunity for the Yang Gang when this is the state of Georgia and the Democratic Party. And we've got a UBI candidate, and we get an opportunity to like overwhelm them with, oh my gosh, look how much support there is for UBI. Look how much support there still is in the Yang Gang. I would, I guess maybe on a personal level, ask everyone to maybe take a moment tonight to talk to Rachel and send out those emails and retweet for Barrington.
That's awesome. Thank you guys. Thank you guys for doing that, bringing it to our attention. Is there anything else? Anyone want to jump in? Hang time. I'm actually gonna take off here. It's been a pleasure, y'all. Deuces.
Nice to see everyone.
Hey, Yanni, can you stop the recording?
You guys too.